back, everyone. My name is James Malonis, and I'm one of the directors of the Ontario Real Estate Association, and I'm also the 2020-2021 chair for the OREA Young Professionals Network Committee. Today is our very last webinar, our last web series, and it's hard to believe that the year has gone by that quickly, and we are all just so thankful that you guys have registered and to come back week or month after month to continue to support OREA's web series. And today, I think we have a really important topic because we're starting a new year. We're kind of rebuilding our business, rebounding from last year. I'm not going to use the word pivot because we're sick of that word, but we are rebounding from last year. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Justin Bock, Laura Tourangeau, Rose HAAWK, and David Kurt. Awesome, guys. Welcome back. And so today, we are actually joined by our YPN committee, but two of you guys are broker owners. So it's interesting to see how you guys are dealing with this topic and how you're training your agents versus myself, Rose, and Justin, who are agents within not your brokerage, but within brokerages. So we are talking about your database, how to work it, how to leverage it, and how to grow it. So the first question I want to ask, and I'm going to lob this to you, Laura, how do you dissect your database?
So I have, basically I have it separated to past clients who have done business with me. I have a separate category for friends and family, and then I have another category for leads, prospects. So I might move them around a little bit throughout the year, but yeah, I have leads and prospects, and then I just have another category for like random leads that have come in.
Okay, and then so you move them around. Do they all stay within the same CRM that you're using?
Yes, right now, in the process of building out bigger, but I've been using Exact Contact right now. It's a more basic one just to get things up and going. So I do have them separated within there.
And is that how you train your agents at your brokerage to sort their database out?
So yeah, like for a new agent, I would say anybody that you know, get those people's contact information, have a conversation with them if you don't know it, phone numbers, email addresses, reach out on Facebook just to get a secondary piece of contact information from them.
That's really good advice. Rose, the same question, because you're newer to the business. I want to know, how do you structure your database? Because you're predominantly a buyer's agent, correct?
Yeah, so I work with a lot of buyers. I like to keep everything in like an Excel spreadsheet that I haven't updated in a while. So being on this call reminds me I have some admin back work to do on my business. But and then everything goes into my CRM. So we use Contactually, which is really, really good. It tracks all your emails, tracks all your follow-ups, generates like really good reminders for who to talk to, which is great. But I started just with Excel and doing what Laura said of adding everybody I know kind of into a spreadsheet, and it kind of gives you an excuse to reach out to everyone and say, hey, like I'm in real estate, can I add your number? I want to keep in touch. And then that spreads the word about what you're doing.
Yeah, really good advice. David, Justin, I'm assuming you guys are kind of in the same situation with how you dissect your database.
You want to jump in there first, Justin, or you want me to handle it?
Yeah, no, I pretty much am the same way with how I have my database organized. So
with our team, like you brought up the idea that we're like, I'm not just an individual agent. I started as a team and then created a brokerage based off the team model basically. And I'm a big believer that like the biggest mistake agents make in this business is not having a database and not being purposeful about it. And I think if you fast forward to your biggest mistake you're going to make in year one is not effectively and efficiently using your database. I'll never forget, I was actually at a conference and with like a lot of people that I looked up to. I was really early in the business, and I chatted with one of the guys that was at the conference with me, and he's like, well, our team actually tracks all this information. And he's like, even if they chatted with somebody 7 years ago, they had all those details of those conversations that went into the database. And I'm like, wow, like that's so powerful. So like under the umbrella of the team or our brokerage, everybody's using our centralized brokerage system. So like when we're keeping track of people in there, like we're obviously every agent has their own, like they're assigned specific people or contacts or leads will be assigned to individual agents. And then in addition to that, There's so many tags and probably almost too many tags. Like we try to keep us like a few tags around, like, are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Are they in our sphere? Are they a past client? Are they another agent to agent that we're, we get referrals from or something like that? But in addition to that, like every time we're running an advertise, like a Facebook ad or a swipe up Instagram ad or something like that, like it's tracking where those, like where they came into our system again on, so that like if we want to be targeting an investor, that I can kind of look back and be like, okay, well, this was an investor property and we had these 1,000 people contact us off this investor property, so I'm going to retarget these people on a future email list or something like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's really easy to categorize too when you have it kind of built in, to log in those details, like where do they come from? Because I think that's one thing we always forget, is because we're so, I mean, especially the last year, we haven't done an open house, right? We're so used to saying ABC person walked into our open house and that's it. But it's been digital for so many years. I know in the city, I haven't really done many in-person open houses. So everything I do has been digital, and it's where they come from. Yeah, it's social media, but is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it Snapchat? Like, where did that lead come from? And how am I going to continue communicating with them?
And
right?
Specifically for you, James, like I think you do an awesome job of like these videos that are based on areas and things like that. So if they're coming across you based on an area, a video that you targeted in a specific location, well, you want to know that, so that the next time you have a listing coming out in that neighborhood, or the next time that you see a really good opportunity for a purchase in that neighborhood or something like that, you're able to specifically target those people and not just your broad, like they're not just all in there as like internet buyer leads or something.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm really bad at utilizing my CRM. I don't put in those details. I actually don't really use a CRM that effectively. Like Rose, for years I use an Excel spreadsheet and a Google Calendar, but I have almost everything in my brain because I'm using social media so often to connect with my people that that's where I memorize their birthdays, what they bought, where they live, what they're into, because it's just how I communicate. So now for me, it's taking, and that's why I'm really interested in this conversation, because yeah, it's a mastermind between, the five of us and everyone else watching, but I'm taking out so much info from you guys who are effectively using your database a little better than I am, because I'm so in my head. So we've kind of talked about how you've dissected your database, past clients, leads, whatever the case is, but we've always heard coaches talk about the ABCD clients. So within those past clients, within those leads, how are you breaking out your ABCDs or Rs?
I can hop in that first though. And this is where I'm not doing a great enough job of it. I know we were chatting just before we went live, and the idea of like my CRM is very focused on lead generation, and it's not as much of the nurture side of things that I want to focus on. But like you fully realize that I think we have about 4,000 people in our database. So like those 4,000 people are like, not just like a name and an email address, those are people. And you have to treat that these are all people that could be buying or selling, and like they have a family, whatever. They all have this like an individual situation, right? So it's true that we're going to have people that, especially if we think about our sphere, that give us more referrals and that we're in touch with more and we're just better friends with. And we actively want to reach out to them on a quarterly basis. We don't need a little task reminder that says, follow up with these people. And I think that go all in on those people and be very purposeful about having really good relationships with the people that you want to have good relationships with. But yeah, like I know right now I'm not doing a good enough job of subsectioning those into like A clients, B clients, C clients, but I also hate that thought process because at the end of the day, they're all like actual people that are behind an email address or name.
Yeah, for sure. Justin?
Different to David, I use my database entirely as a nurture system. I live in my database. The first thing I do is log in the morning, make sure that anything that I have to do, like if there's birthday cards or just like little follow-ups or whatever, like that is, my database literally is my bread and butter. All of my business comes from my database. So it's like that. So over the years that, anything that I do in there is all about the nurture system. So every client in there that I have in there is a past client that I've dealt with. So they're, to me, like to answer your question, they're all A clients in that respect. So they're all getting the same level of treatment. There's nobody in my database that I haven't transacted with, or currently in my pipeline of people that I'm working with, like as buyers, or like, we're prepping them to get their property sold at some point, this year. Then they're in my database. They don't go in there till until I basically have a working relationship with them. So it's all, for me, they're all and they're all in there for the purpose of nurturing.
Can I jump?
Can I
Sorry,
jump in and
David.
ask you something there, Justin? So
Yep.
Justin, I agree. And I think that's what I want to grow to. That's what I aspire to, is to have a better nurture database. But like right now, like are you doing internet leads and things like that? Like where do you put an internet lead? Like, cause like there's,
Yeah.
those are a dime a dozen to get, like whether they're a quality lead or not a quality lead or whatever. But like, what are you doing with when like somebody interacts with one of your Facebook ads?
I honestly, I don't run any ads. I don't do any of like the traditional lead generation. The time and energy that I spend into like, if you want to call it lead generation, is literally into nurturing my past clients. Whether, and I'm sure we'll get more into some of the things that we do in our database, like some of the activities and stuff like that we do. But the reason, again, why they are all remain like A clients is because whether like I've been in the business now for 8 years. So if someone bought from me in year 1 and they haven't transacted with me since, they're still getting everything that I do for my to nurture them, the same way that I've done someone that I did a transaction with the second half of 2020. There's no difference, other than the fact that maybe they saw me in 2020, or maybe they didn't, because obviously we didn't do a client event like we normally would do. But they're all getting the same level of attention that I would give someone, that I transacted with 6 months ago versus 8 years ago. And again, the reason that I do that is because, I do put a very like high emphasis on my like past clients and nurturing them, because that's how I continue to grow my business. Like I said, I do not spend a single penny on lead generation, but I do spend a lot of money nurturing my past clients, like through various avenues throughout the year.
Yeah, and Justin, I think you and I have worked closely together over the last couple of years, and I think you do a really good job with your database and really knowing the intricate details of your people. And I remember I'm just going to share a little story. You had done, actually, I think you leased your own home in the Blue Mountain region, and the buyer or the tenant for the season was from Toronto. And you remembered every little detail that they were into, and you made them a welcome basket. And I really thought that was smart. And for those of you that transact in kind of seasonal markets or short-term rental markets, right? So maybe you have clients who are Airbnb hosts, or you have clients who, I'm just going to shoot Muskoka because it's the easiest cottage country for me to mention. But if you have clients who are renting out their place in Muskoka and you're acting as a property management company, get to know those people, right? Because the people that are coming to as tenants, because you can add them to your database, right? Get to know what they're about. Find out, do they like wines, like champagne? Like, what are they looking to do while they're up there? And you put that in your database, and you can use that to stay in touch with them. If they're boaters, send them tickets to the boat show.
Yeah. On that particular note, thank you for that, James. Some of the things that I do is like when I'm with my clients, when I'm at their house and, we're doing an offer and they've opened up a bottle of red, like I will then, like when I leave that meeting, I'm writing a note in my CRM what bottle of red they were drinking. And if I know their dog's name or whatever, and like to the point, like last year when I had my renter come up there, I actually had like a custom dog treat container made with the dog's name on it. So that was the first thing that they saw when they walked in the house to come and rent, on their first day that they were there, was a dog treat dish with their like dog's name on it. So it's just like little stuff like that. But then again, that's how, like, instead of spending $20 or $30 on an internet, on internet leads, I'll spend $30 on getting a custom cookie jar made for their dog.
Like I kind of preach that to a lot of our agents too in the office, like where like look for the 10 wow factors. And like the easiest one is like usually you're going to be showing people houses or whatever, but like in an old world when you actually met people in person, but like you'll go to Tim Hortons or Starbucks or whatever, like how do they take their coffee? Like that's the easiest thing to put in, like I'm sure like out of us, probably James is the most like complicated coffee order. But if I put that in a database and I show up 2 years after the fact and with his coffee, the way like with a complicated order, like that's going to like hit that out of the park. And the other thing is like we go to, like I was at a home inspection yesterday, like I jotted down what size the filter of the furnace was, so that like, and I'm not purposeful about it now, but like if I went and I every quarter dropped off furnace filters, which is like $3, like that's when you get wow level of service.
Yeah, I call it delivering the unexpected, right? And side note, before I lob this back over to Rose, my coffee is the easiest. It's black always.
That's how I take mine.
Me too.
So, Rose, kind of taking what we just talked about here, categorizing your clients and breaking them down. As a buyer's agent, how are you breaking down who gets the most level of service in your database? Yeah, you're working with 5 or 6 active buyers at once, but how are you breaking them into an A or an A+ buyer versus a B or a C buyer?
I think like probably a lot of people across the province are having the same thing, where like people who before, like when I started, if you were working with someone who was just looking, not really willing to put in an offer, like obviously that client isn't at an A+ level, because you know that they're looking, but they don't have the feet to the fire to buy.
Yeah.
But right now it's kind of the opposite. All of your buyers are needing that service because they're all really looking to buy. So I don't really have that breakdown right now in terms of who's not an A+ client, because everybody's needing a lot of service. Like this is probably my busiest January I've ever had, so which is like great, but it requires a lot of work, which is good. But I think in terms of like the service that you can give, and there are a lot of new agents who can hear those things of like, oh, remembering everybody's coffee order right now, which we can't even really get up with people, is hard. And thinking about, you know, how expensive it can be to have a CRM. So you can utilize just your database in terms of like Excel and leverage that through like emails and just general things to keep in touch with people. It doesn't all have to be about spending a lot of money or, you know, making sure you're buying people things. Because when you first start, if you're waiting for your first commission check and it doesn't come for 4 months, like you might not have that $20 for any of it. So just make sure you're staying in touch in whatever way you can. And as you grow, then you can get more specified and more focused on those things. But remember everybody's dog's names, their kids' names, their spouse's names, their birthdays, like that kind of stuff is free and it's easy for you to do. So that's kind of where, if I was, what I did when I started was focus on the things that I could do for cheap, because that's all I could do.
Yeah, those really great tips. Little things to remember as you're moving forward, right? Like I think the kid's name is the biggest one. Now, you know, in a COVID world where we're limiting how many people are in a home, but, you know, 6 months around when this COVID's hopefully gone, there's an old agent that I had semi-mentored underneath when I first started. And he was very old school. Like I'm talking big, thick briefcase style old school, like, you know, the hard ones with the flap lid. He used to keep lollipops and stickers in there. And I don't know how old those lollipops were, but he keep lollipops and stickers in there. And when people go on showings, he would have the kids sit in the living room with a little, like one of his branded notepads, stickers, and a lollipop while he showed the parents the house. They could just, you know, play and not be a distraction. Not the kids are a distraction, but you know what I'm saying. And it reminded the parents that he's not just in it for the commission. He cares about their kids, right? And again, you could go to the dollar store, buy a bag of lollies and stickers for under $10. So you're right, Rose, you didn't spend a lot of money to nurture when you're just starting out. Laura, how long have you been in the business?
It's been 12 years now.
Okay, so you probably have a pretty extensive list of people in your book.
Yes, so I keep everybody in there. There's the select few clients that I would not like to work with again. So those ones I do filter out, but otherwise, yeah, everybody, basically all past clients get the same treatment except for ones who've done business within the last year. That list kind of gets a little bit separated, but yeah, anybody that I've done business with ever, I just keep working at them. A lot of my business is from repeat and referrals. So, and a lot of my clients know each other. So, you know, the way I treat one, I want to treat all of them, especially if, you know, they are going to be talking. I don't want, well, why didn't Laura do this for me? You know, any past client ever gets the same treatment.
I like that. I'm kind of glad you brought that up. So what I want to ask you now is, how do you know when to delete those people?
There are some, you know, if the transaction was difficult, if they were a bit unreasonable, you know, there are some that, you know, you followed up with and, you know, they're just, the energy doesn't vibe. I either refer them out or I just quietly delete them from my database.
I got a quick question. You mentioned, Laura, that the people that you've just dealt with in the last 12 months, you'll treat
Yes.
differently. What are you doing special for the people that have recently closed? So like say in the last year?
Yeah, so those ones I do little extras for. I will do house anniversary gifts for them. And I also do birthdays. I tend to trail off with after a couple of years, but first year, definitely they get a birthday card from me. And then Christmas gifts too. They get something a little bit different than everybody else does.
Anyone else want to hop on that?
Just quick to follow up, like, is anybody, or like, are you a person like right now, or is anybody else using send out cards? Because I know that was like kind of the rage when this might have been 5 or 10 years ago kind of thing, where you could customize it with whatever photo online. But is anybody using that right now?
I haven't.
I don't, but there's an agent in my market who does, and I think I don't know if he is a promoter for them as well, but he really pushes it. And I think the last I spoke with him, he had about $30 million of the transactions sitting in send out cards, that he was nurturing through that program. Right. And I guess it send out cards, I guess I haven't used it personally, but it could act like a CRM because you are touching base with those people who are your clients and you're building a relationship. So it's, again, that same word of client relationship management, right?
It's just like for me, like, I like it. Like, it's like, just like you said, Laura, like we get busy, and the idea of like sending out handwritten birthday cards and stuff like that, like it's really tough. Like we can all say like we try to do it, but like, I know I probably like, I wrote out, like, I think I wrote 300 handwritten cards at Christmas time with like a personalized note in each one. But like, that's the one that's my big drop. I don't do a lot of handwritten cards throughout the year, and I know I should be, but I don't. But like send out cards is kind of that hybrid model where it's like, it's written text that's printed that kind of looks like somebody wrote it. So it kind of looks like somebody took the time to write a handwritten note. And then some people send brownies within stuff like that. But just kind of curious if you guys do anything like that.
Yeah, I had been doing handwritten everything, and then it just got to be too much. So I've just done personalized. I'll order personalized cards, that type of thing, and send those out. And then you can even just write your signature, scan it in there, so it looks like you've signed it.
I do handwritten birthday cards for all my clients. Again, though, and it goes back to the client that I did a transaction with my first year of business. They are all still getting the handwritten birthday card. And one of the, like, I use Exact as my CRM because it's the only one that I found that it, like, literally the minute you log into your CRM, it prompts you in, like, right there being like, it's James's birthday, send him a card, or like send him wishes, or like whatever it says, so that it does prompt me, so that there's no, like, I don't have to really take any extra steps to try to remember to do it. And it sits there right in bold red letters. And as someone who thrives off lists and checklists, like if it sits there undone, like I can't like sleep until until it's done. But that's that is like actually one of the main reasons that I use Exact, is because I haven't found another CRM that has done other things, but also reminds me for the birthday cards. Like it sits in a calendar, but then that requires me to open up the calendar, check today's date, see whose birthday it is, send, then also do the like send the birthday card out. Whereas like Exact, the minute you log on, dashboard, send James a card.
And like, I definitely agree with that. Sorry to hop in, James. I just want to kind of make a quick comment, but like, it's so great to get a handwritten card, sure. But I think that even if you like especially the whatever 800 people that are listening right now, like it's great if you could take the time. But even if you don't, like even if you had that pop up like Justin said, and either go on Facebook and send them a message, which they're going to get 800 of them anyways. But even if you take like a 20-second video clip and just text it to them, like instead of sending somebody a Facebook message, send them a text message, because like that's going to be a little bit more, like they're not going to get 800 text messages that day, but they might get 800 Facebook messages, right? So like take the time to try to think outside the box, and when everybody's zigging, you want to zag. So like that's one thing that you could do. And like honestly, like a quick video, I found like a lot more like it doesn't take a lot of work. It's just like you flip the camera on, it's just like a 10-second video, and it will be a lot better received. So
Agreed.
I think with anything, it's important to do things that you also like know that you're going to do yourself or whatever. I was talking with somebody about this exact like conversation. He was like, oh, well, I send birthday bombs. Do you think like sending a handwritten card's better? And I was like, well, no, because it's something that you enjoy. Like you always send out birthday bombs. So like, why are you going to change gears and do something different? Like if this is something that you enjoy doing, enjoy sending the bombs out every time that you get a birthday notification, to keep doing that, because that's something you're like, obviously clearly enjoy doing it, and it's something that you're like, you don't forget to do. So like whatever you're doing is fine as long as you're gonna do it. And like if you don't want to send out a handwritten birthday card or a send out card, but would rather do like an Instagram message or like an Instagram shout out, then do an Instagram shout out. Like if that's the way that you talk to your people and enjoy talking to people, that's what's like the key important factor in working anything in your database, is like something that you actually want to do.
Yeah, and just for those watching, I'm not ignoring your question in the chat. We're going to answer them at the end, but there is one here talking about birthdays, and is it tacky to send birthday messages? And I'm kind of glad we segued into that, because it's not tacky. It's a nice way to stay in touch with them. So, I kind of mix both of what you guys are doing and doing, either a video message or an Instagram DM. But at the beginning of every month, I write out my birthday cards for my clients in my database that have birthdays, let's say for February. Each one gets a $5 Starbucks gift card with a little note inside that says, have a coffee on us, right? Plain and simple. Because Starbucks is doing the exact same thing with you as well. If you have a rewards card, Starbucks is sending you a free drink on your birthday. I'm sending you one too, right? The response that I've had, I implemented this in 2019. The response that I've had has been incredible. And the referrals from my database because of that program has been incredible. So it's little things to take note of that you can implement. It's not going to work for everyone, right? Like what might work for David won't work for Laura, and vice versa, because we're in different markets, we're different people. This is not, we don't have the magic answer to run a multi-million-dollar business. We just are telling you what works for us.
There's
So-
also, speaking of like Starbucks gift cards too, like you can also send them directly from the app. So like if you wanted to send someone a personalized message, one, you can easily send that out that way. And it also lets you know when someone uses it. So that's another way you can kind of reach out to them and be like, hey, like, glad you had a coffee on me. Like, hopefully it was really good. It just
You know
helps.
what, Rose? That's so smart. One of my referral partners in Chicago sent me a $20 Starbucks gift card in, was it November, at the start of the new Toronto lockdown, I guess the new old Toronto lockdown, because Toronto locked down way before everyone else did. And with a simple note saying, stock up on some treats, you're going into lockdown, good luck. And it just, it sticks in your mind, right? It's those little touches that are unexpected. It goes back to delivering the unexpected, right? That deep you.
Just really quick, somebody had in the chat too, like how do you get their birthdays and stuff like that? You fill out Fintrax, guys. Like it's on the driver's license. Like this is, it's not. You be purposeful about like asking for their information, and then like that's when you have it, and like either do it yourself if you don't have a team, or just to get one of your admins to do it after that.
Yeah, that's the easiest way, is get their info from FinTrack. And I don't do it for their kids and stuff. It's just who transacted with me, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, single person, whatever it is. That's whose birthdays I want. Not that I don't care for the kids, but the kids are not going to remember that. The parents are, or the client is, because I remember their birthday, because they're the ones who are driving the decision. So segueing from birthdays into continuing to keep in touch with your database, how many times a year do you connect, one, with your database, but two, on individual levels? Because I look at my A's and my B's that are connected with differently than my C's, D's, and R's. So Laura, I'm gonna lob this to you. How do you connect with how many times do you connect with your database?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely in an indirect way, at least 24 times a year. And that would be the minimum. Some of them I do connect with more. And, I guess I unofficially have my past clients, and some of them just because of geographical areas as well. So some of them I do connect with more, do a few extra little things for them versus some of the others. But it's, I kind of work in a wide geographical area. So the ones that are more local to me get a little more touches from me throughout the year.
Makes total sense. Rose?
So I guess it depends on where they're, like you said, whether they're A, B, or C clients or past clients. At a minimum, I touch base with everybody once a quarter, just at a minimum. But then I try to do Christmas, start of the year. So I'm probably looking at least a minimum of 9 touches for everybody. And for people who I'm working with on a regular basis, it's like every 3 days.
Yeah, that's, I guess, the best way to keep them top of mind with you too, right? Especially if you're of the relationship versus the transaction method, where you're not having them sign a BRA right off the bat. So you want to stay top of mind with them. And BRAs are, good practice, but my opinions. David, because you've been in the business quite a long time, you've got a good team, got a good book. How many times are you connecting with your database? Because I know you do some really fun things with your people up in Sudbury.
So this is where I could be a lot more purposeful, and like it's something I want to work on that side of my business, about being more like having systemizing what I'm actually doing to touch base with people. But honestly, like one of the most efficient and effective things that I've done personally in my business is since the first COVID shutdown, like March of last year, I break down how many listings, how many sales, how many like multiple offers, like every week. I send a weekly update on the market. So that's going to my entire database right there. I have about like 500 people that are like somewhat, like not just internet leads, but like somewhat in my sphere or somewhat past clients. And I get like 60% readership on that, which is like through the roof. I'm thrilled with. So I'm doing that every week, but like we do a handwritten Christmas card every Christmas. And like we send, I think over Christmas, like our entire office sent out like 500. I put a $5 Tim's card in every single one of those with a little sticker on it, have a coffee on Lake City Realty. We used to do like kids events, and we do like a Halloween, like this year we teamed up with one of our local parks, and we had 500 pumpkins in a little bit of a walking trails and stuff like that. So like we were able to do that. So I want to be more personal. We're doing it right now. It's good practice to reach out and have like actual connections and not just like market stats and stuff like that with people on a regular basis. But I don't have that formulated. Now, as a bonus too, like if you're looking for different ideas, especially if you've been in the market for 5 years, like if you've been in the market 1 or 2 years, it may be not as much, but like in Sudbury, we've experienced, and I know the rest of Ontario has experienced like this massive increase in the last 12 months and 24 months. Like anybody that's bought a house 2 years ago, if you reach out to them and just give them a quick CMA based on like, if you didn't even do any updates to your house, like, you know, your house is probably worth in this ballpark. Just wanted to let you know this is probably your biggest asset. You're going to have such a high, like people are like, what? You mean I have $150,000 of equity in my house? Like that's the easiest thing. And that starts real estate conversations. And like, if you want to be busier, like not everyone wants to be busier. Some people are just happy with the level of business they have or whatever. But if you want to be busier, that's the easiest thing. If you're like, you go to your office and you're like, what do I do today? Or you're sitting at your home and you're like, what can I be doing to generate business? Start going through the people that you sold the house to 2+ years ago, especially if you've had big increases, and just start sending them like CMAs. And just like, here's the last 4 sales in the last 30 days in your neighborhood. Just wanted to give you a little bit of an update that like, you know, even if you haven't done any work to your house is probably worth in this kind of a ballpark range.
Yeah, honestly, the CMAs are the biggest thing, right? You don't have to go too deep with them. A simple like breakdown of the last couple sales. I like to do 6 months personally in my market because my market changes a lot faster than you guys. And I do them twice a year. And what it does, it simply starts that conversation of, oh, damn, I'm sitting on a 6-figure equity from literally doing nothing just because the market has changed.
The other thing that's really cool is if you guys are doing that, we've been using Bomb a little bit over the little past, but we've recently subscribed to Loom, and Loom is awesome for that. Where like there'll be like a little video like bubble of you speaking as well as it's recording your screen. So like you could just take a 1-minute Loom video and be like, here's the last 3 comps that are somewhat comparable to yours. You know, I remember when we sold your place, the kitchen needed a little bit of updates and the bathrooms were, you know, a little bit dated. Even if you didn't do those work, you're probably in this range kind of thing. So just take a 1-minute video and just send them the video file. And that's going to be like the easiest thing you could do, where you could just be firing these off. You could do 5 a day or whatever you want. And those are going to start real estate conversations.
Absolutely. And both you and Laura touched on this a little bit too with events. And I know Justin and I both run our database with micro events. And I want to hear from all 4 of you. How did you guys deal with COVID not allowing you to throw events? And if they were literally 4 people spread apart. So how are you guys dealing with doing micro events? I know, David, you did your Halloween thing that was outside, but you know, for someone like myself who had a wine tasting event planned, you know, with a sommelier at my office, I had to adjust in a very different way. So how are you guys dealing with that? And are you implementing micro events going forward for this year, knowing that we're still potentially going to be shut down style from last year?
Yeah, so I'll go first. What I did, I spent a little bit extra. Like, for example, I did a Mother's Day. I did a mani-pedi package, and I dropped that off to all the moms in my database, my past clients, since I couldn't get together with them in person. So we were all in pretty tight lockdown restrictions. Nobody had been to hairdresser yet. Everybody's got the grays coming through. So I sent out a neat little card with that. I put together these cute little packages. You know, they cost a bit more than I would normally spend on something, you know, just a drop-off item, but the response I got out of that was huge. Everybody just loved it. They were grateful for it. Just, you know, a reminder, like, yeah, everybody was home with their kids, so they got to take a little time out. So that was just an example of something that I did. Not quite a traditional virtual event, but just something a little extra.
I like that. Again, it goes back to that delivering the unexpected, because I don't think anyone was really thinking that you were going to show up at that.
No,
Right.
not at all. Like they were, yeah, I got some really heartfelt messages from that. So, I mean, those are the things those clients are going to remember you.
Yeah. Justin, if I'm not mistaken, did you not deliver some meals to your database up in because you moved during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So I think you were giving out some dinner packages from your local restaurants, were you not, to your database up there?
Yeah, I mean, I did a couple things this year. Like, I mean, I tried to do like a lot of my clients that I work with up in Blue Mountain are originally from from different areas. Like, there's like pretty much nobody in my database that I've worked with is like originally like, you know, a Collingwood person or a Blue Mountain person. So they're all, you know, secondary homes or ex-Torontonians. So yeah, like this year, one of the things that I did try to do was I did try to support local, but also just like try to, whether it was like dropping off little jars of like jam or like a candle from like just like little things or whatever. And it was, at different sort of various points of the year. Like at Christmas, like normally I would do something a little bit smaller because I do it for my whole database. But for like my local clients up here, like I got like some gift baskets from like one of like some different local companies, like based on like what like some, again, like things that I think that they would like, right? Obviously, like, some people got wine or drink, like, ciders or something like that, depending on like what their likes are and stuff like that. So I mean, I definitely didn't like pivot and do some sort of like events like in lieu of, but I just tried to sort of connect like with my clients a little bit differently and just sort of like support local and just like show the area instead of, because obviously like, we weren't able to really get together and do stuff. So it gave me an opportunity to sort of have those like one-on-ones with them. So
yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving out the time here. We got a few more minutes. So David, you and I were chatting before we went live. So I want to answer this question, then we'll go into the actual chat here before we transition over to Clubhouse. What did you learn about your database? Because you've been through a couple CRMs, you have had some struggles with, the few that you've used. So I want to touch on that. Like, what have you learned from your database?
So early on, like I said, I remember being at that conference early in my career and seeing how effective they can be by tracking things. So CRMs were always a big part of me. And I remember, I think I started with Exact, and then it was Buffini, and then it was Follow Up Boss, and now I'm with Chime. Just as a heads up, one of the coolest things that's with Chime, and it's my understanding that only there's the two CRMs, so Chime and YLOPO, that have AI built into it. And I've spoken to a few people offline, and they were kind of curious about how the AI works. So like, it's actually search intuitive. So like when a client might tell you that they're searching for a 3-bedroom, bungalow, but if they're looking at a lot of 4-bedroom, 2 stories, then it's not going to send them more of what they're looking for. And it's not going to send them what they've told you they're looking for. So that's what's pretty cool about that. But going back, so like I'm having this great experience with Chime from a lead generation standpoint, but I think I touched upon it where like lead generation is not the biggest part of my business. It's not how I want to build my business. I don't want to be like somebody that has 1,000 leads and I'm like, oh, just call everybody and find the 2 people that are going to buy a house here and then go focus on those people. I really want to focus, like Justin's doing, about nurturing relationships. So I don't love that side of it. And I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, I think it was called Virtual Con or something like that. And it was like a virtual convention, and before even we needed to be virtual. And the top 30 people in the US that were all sitting on a panel in terms of like running the biggest book of business in the US. I think it was like 22 of the 30 were all using Follow Up Boss. And I'm like, well, like if I want to be successful, I should, follow successful people kind of thing. So at that point I left Buffini and I signed up for Follow Up Boss. They were doing a great job of it. They just weren't focusing on the lead generation kind of thing. And that's why I'm looking at the idea of possibly implementing a second CRM and like having 2 run concurrently. And I've spoken to some team leaders that I really respect across the province, and they'll say that they've specifically used one for either the back end or their admin, and then one for lead generation. So I've learned a lot as I've gone through the motions. And I think it depends on it depends on your personal values and your personal mission statement of the business you're running. What are you looking to do, and find a system that's going to do that. And if it has to be multiple systems, then like maybe you're okay, implementing multiple systems.
Mm-hmm. And this is going to touch on probably half the questions in the chat here is what CRM is the best? And David, you've been through a few of them. I've been through a few. I'm sure we've all been through a few. There's no perfect CRM for everyone. It's what works for you. Just like there's no perfect car to drive, there's no perfect shoe to wear. It has to be right for you, right? So most CRMs, I know Exact for sure offers a free trial, so you can, get set up with it. You can play around with it, build the backend platform, and if you like it, continue. If not, move on to something else. But most of them do give you a free 30-day trial to get set up with.
I'll just give a quick example of that. Like, so for, again, Exact, perfect for my birthday usage. I was looking for something a little bit more robust, so I had switched over to Lion Desk for a short period of time. It didn't prompt me my birthdays. It didn't allow there to be a second, like if there was a spouse on file, it didn't prompt with their birthday. So when I realized that it didn't do that, I still had all my contacts in there and I wasn't using Exact anymore. For like 6 months, like I logged into my CRM this many times, right? So to me, obviously line desk didn't work and I stopped using it. So again, just to sort of, echo what James is saying, like your CRM has to work for exactly what it is that you're looking for. There's no, like I can guarantee you that all 5 of us on this call right now are all use different CRMs for very different reasons. And that's like, so there's really no way to answer, one way, like one person is the best CRM, like there just isn't, because there's things that work really, really well for others. Like I know that follow-up bots, if I ever were to get into online lead gen, I think that they are a good way to really manage, lead gen, like leads that come in that you haven't transacted with yet. So, but that's something that I'm not at that stage in my business. So I wouldn't, and so Exact is exactly perfect for what I need.
And I'm glad you brought that up. So Mary, answering your question about leads from Realtor.ca or Facebook boosted ads, Follow-Up Boss is probably one of the better ones that allows you to stay in touch with the people you haven't really nurtured yet. And again, to David's point, you can run multiple CRMs. Like I'm using 2 different ones, one for my actual database and one for my random leads, because it allows me to build, that random drip campaign in the back versus allowing me to nurture the people that I really want to make money from. So you can use 2. And to Justin's point, Follow-Up Boss, does work really well for those random leads.
And fully realize that, like, especially when you start running a team and stuff like that, like you want to be able to have leads assigned to different teammates, and you want to have like, how are you assigning leads and things like that. So that's why your systems probably has to come a little bit more comprehensive and powerful at that point than a lot of the other systems that are out there. So just be aware, like again, you don't need to spend $150 or $100 a month or whatever on a CRM. Like there's free options out there for sure. And Excel, like if nothing, like Rose mentioned, use Excel. But the biggest thing is, like, from day one in this business, it's free to track information, and you have the ability to create a wow level of customer service by tracking that information. So that's like the biggest thing that I can say is, like, if I could go back in time and start my business over, I would be way more purposeful about the information I'm putting in that CRM.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because again, it's really funny this is all kind of weaving into itself, because this question I'm going to give to Rose. David, you talk about going back, and if you were new in the business, how you would start your CRM and your database. Rose, since you are so new to the business, how did you start your database when you first got into it?
So before I started, I talked to a bunch of real estate agents, and they all told me to write down every person I knew and put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And then I've moved around to a few different teams, and that Excel spreadsheet has always kind of stayed the same, because every team uses a different like CRM. So I've used a few different ones. I've used Top Producer, Agent Locator, and now I use Contactually. I like Contactually the best so far, but they all have different features, and I just started building my CRM based off of the back of Excel and putting in as much detail as possible and filling in everything I can as I go.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it, and keep those notes.
Yeah, I really don't think there is a right or wrong one to use. It's the one that you are going to use. That's use something.
The only wrong answer is not using anything, I think. Like that's the biggest thing.
Natasha Kaufman, as a play on her words, but she's North America's leading PR maven, and she made a post last year, January, don't just do something, say something. Sorry, don't just say something, do something. And it's something with your database too. Don't say you're going to do it, actually do it. Like, doing it is more important than not doing it. So doing something is better than doing nothing. Laura, you have a pretty decent book of past clients. How are you following up with them? And how are you keeping property details from past transactions?
So property details, for most cases, it would be their current address. And I mean, I do have a pretty good relationship with them. So a lot of it, I just remember, where they moved from, that type of thing. I don't forget a lot of those details, I think, because they are such solid relationships. And then as far as like other details go, I will save notes in my phone under their contact. If there is something that I should know about those clients, that's what I'll do.
David, same question.
Well, sorry, what was the question? I was responding to a few chats.
Oh, yeah, I noticed you're doing with the chat here. The question was, how are you keeping details from past transactions, and how are you following up with past clients?
So this is like This is when you start to grow, and like one of the first things that the biggest thing that you're going to do in your business that's going to get you to the next level is hiring like a staff or admin or something like that. And like now I just have the ability to like be out with a client, send my admin, like we use Slack on our back end, or like even just have it written out on a bunch of like my showing sheets and stuff like that, and just drop it off on my admin's desk when we're in a world where we're working together. And like it's just like I just look to them, I lean on them, they update it as it needs to happen. So it's unfair when you're starting out that you got to take the time and energy and put that in, but like you're saving money on not hiring those people. But like to get your business to the next step, whenever you're at the ability where you feel like you're running out of time, hire somebody, even if it's part-time or something like that. And you have the ability to like take that stuff and just put it on their desk. Cause like, I'll be honest with you guys, like that's going to be the biggest thing you're going to do in your business is when you reach this point of getting busy, if you're at that point where you can hire somebody or even rely on your, like as us, like we have 3 admins in our office for 6 agents. So like, if your office has the ability to have extra admin and help from that perspective, that's going to allow you to level your business up.
And even if you don't have the funds to do a full-time or part-time in-person admin, VAs are really good too, because a lot of the stuff you're doing is virtual. You can set it up with them and they cost pennies on the dollar. Patricia has a really good question here, and I'm going to answer this one. It's when you're starting your database, what do you do if you don't have a large sphere of influence? So I was 21 when I started, right? Who at 21 years old is buying a house? Literally no one, right? Unless you've won the lottery or you have a family trust. So I took everyone that I went to school with, I played hockey with, I worked with, and I put them in my database. I got their information, I stalked Facebook, I got their birthdays. So I built it all out and I had them as future buyers. When I got with my brokerage, I built a buyer program for them. But when I was looking for listings, I took their parents, right? I literally just went through my Facebook feed. And one of the best advices I ever got from a coach was, if you were to get married tomorrow, who would you invite to your wedding? Right? I mean, I come from a big Greek family, so there have been 750 some odd people. But you know, if you were to get married tomorrow, who would you invite? Like the core people that you want at your wedding are the core people you want in your database, because they're going to become your advocates.
Just as a follow-up to that too, like if you are just starting out and you don't have anybody to put in there, like that's when you have to go all in on content creation and just go film videos about neighborhood videos, film videos, like especially around Evergreen. I know that like I had that exact same conversation with one of our agents in our office who's like maybe 4 years in the business now. And he's the most successful agent. Like he did more transactions last year than I did. And like, it's because he started building content 4 years ago. And now like he has to just turn away leads left, right, and center because like he's just too busy. Mm-hmm. So like build the content, and then people are going to interact with the content and message you and be like, oh, can you keep me on the list of getting your emails whenever you do a video on, you know, first time home buyer or cost to buy or whatever those content videos you're going to do. That's going to build your database. So just provide value out there as best as you can, put it out, even if it's free, and just be like, are you guys interested in more videos like this? Let me know. I'm happy to like send you guys a private email list or whatever that looks like. So provide value, be consistent with it. And that's what's going to build your email list.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We've got a few more minutes here before we head over to Clubhouse. So who here works with, or who does home anniversary messages?
I started doing that last year.
Okay, so we have a question from Lise, and she was saying she generally sends a lotto ticket, but looking for different ideas. So what do you do with your database for home anniversaries?
So I started dropping off just like a bottle of champagne to some clients with a little card and just like a celebration, you know, happy house anniversary, hope you're enjoying everything, that type of thing.
Again, real simple, right? And it's the keep it simple Simon method, right? Don't overthink it, right? Anything that you think is going to work, do it, because there's no magic answer to what we're doing here. Okay, so let's do one last question.
One of the coolest things just around that too, James, is like, like, because we do like closing gifts and stuff like that, but I can't even remember who said it, and I wish I could give them credit. But like, I don't even do this right now. But instead of giving like a $200 closing gift or something like that, they follow up with their florist, and they get 4 deliveries, 1 for each season, on flowers. So they have flowers that are in season, and I'm like, that is the most brilliant idea ever, because you're going to be reminded 4 different times that year that like this agent did an awesome job and sold you this house. And like, you know, you're going to have fresh flowers for summer, for fall, for winter, like whatever that season is. And like, take that $200 and get like $50 of flowers delivered to 4 times a year. Cause like for our first year anniversary, we used to do like a flower delivery for about $50. But yeah, instead of a closing gift, if you do that, that's going to be an amazing idea.
That's brilliant. I'm going to start.
That's a great idea.
So the last question I have here is completely not really our scope of the field, but are you guys finding any of your emails from your CRMs going into spam? You know, those automatic drip emails or anything that's being sent from the CRM platform directly?
I didn't know about email jail. I don't, you guys might know about this already, but like if you are too spammy, then like smart email lists like Google and Gmail and things like that are just going to start putting you into email jail. And that's at that point, you actually have to send smaller emails, like send emails to 10 people. And when you send an email to 10 people and it gets opened by 50% of those people, now you're going to get yourself out of email jail. So you have to, like, if you are email jail, which more than likely, if you're being spammy or you have been spammy in the past, you are in email jail already. Your emails are purposely going to spam email junk boxes. So like whatever system you're using, hopefully you're able to track the, like, who's opening it, the open rates, that kind of thing, how many are actually being delivered, and really focus it. If your email open rates are under 15%, I'd say you're probably in email jail. Get down on that list, try to do smaller number of emails for the next couple of weeks and try to get yourself out of email jail.
And also changing your subject heading too, right? I find a lot of the generic ones that come from exact contact or contactually, the automatic emails can be a bit spammy in themselves. And to your point, David, Gmail automatically throws it into spam or promotions tab and it doesn't get seen. So I do want to wrap up. Guys, thank you so much for your time. This was really insightful for myself as chair of the committee. I'm sure you guys took out your own values. And for those watching, thank you for supporting the Young Professional Network this last year. We have, really relied on your support, and these webinars have been great, not only for the committee, but for those watching. And moving forward, I'm hoping the new YPN committee next year will continue these web series because they were fantastic. For those asking if this is going to be emailed out, yes, it will be. If you've registered, it'll be in your inbox within a week or so. So now, you're actually heading over to Clubhouse. If you are not an Apple user, unfortunately, this program does not work for you, but Clubhouse is an invite-only platform. So if you have an invite or if you've created a profile and you're looking for an invite, shoot one of your friends a message if they have a current account set up. And we'll be taking this conversation over to Clubhouse. There's a scheduled 2 o'clock meeting room. Look out for it, join it, and we will continue the conversation there.
Just quickly there, James, too, there was a lot of questions we didn't get to in the chat. Like, honestly, guys, look me up at David_Kurt on Insta or my Facebook page or whatever. I'm happy to share anything if you guys want, hop on a call or anything like that. So, and I'm sure the other panelists are like in the same position, but like, I know if we didn't get to one of your questions in the chat, feel free to look me up and shoot me a message directly after.
Absolutely. And also, guys, really utilize the YPN Facebook group. It's not only us that will be answering. There are past OREA presidents, there are past YPN committee members, there are past directors, all in that group who are here to help you. Again, real estate is a lonely business, but Ontario Real Estate Association is one big family.
Awesome.
Okay, guys, see you
guys in the club.